Secretary Philomena Robertson, and welcome to this week's post-cabinet press briefing. As usual, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you to our viewers and our listeners, and of course to the members of the media who are present in the room this morning. Today, we will be talking about developments in education. There was palpable excitement over the last few days as we awaited the results of the Caribbean Primary Exit Assessment, the CPEA. I myself certainly witnessed some high levels of anxiety among parents of students who sat the exam. But the results are out. And this morning, on behalf of Prime Minister Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, I say special congratulations to the top student, Kimaya Richards, of the Venda Marcy School. Job well done, my dear, and please continue the excellent work as you enter St. Joseph's Convent in September. We wish you the very best of luck. And to all the other students who were successful in the exams, congratulations to you. This morning, on our post-cabinet press briefing, we have the Minister responsible for Education, Honorable Emmeline Pear, who will speak in depth about the CPEA results, along with Mr. Janelle Mitchell of the Examinations Unit. Mr. Dave Alexander of the Drug Control Unit is also here, and he will be telling us about some policy changes in the ministry come September. Without any further ado, Minister, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Madam Press Secretary, and let me say a very warm good morning to all of our members of the media present this morning, of course, all of our viewers and listeners to GIS television. I want to join with the Press Secretary who expressed congratulations on behalf of Prime Minister to do so in my capacity as Minister for Education, to express congratulations to all of our students, 1,799 of them who have secured placement in our secondary schools. I want to say to them best wishes, and of course to say to them that that journey has not ended. It really has just started. Of course, I want to particularly point out those persons who secured passes, but placement in the top 50. Of course, normally you have anxiety too there, in that persons are all hoping that their children feature in the top 50. Of course, there's only 50 can really feature there. But we want to particularly feature and recognize particularly the top place student of Venda Marcy School. Again, congratulations to everybody. As was indicated before, the much anticipated results came in on Saturday night, and I want to repeat that, last Saturday night. There's a perception that the results were available more than a week ago and that the government did not release the results. I want to reassure the public and to express this morning that this is so far from the truth, that the results were only released on Saturday night. And I want to take the opportunity to commend and to say special thank you to the exams unit headed by Mrs. Michelle Peters-George. Of course, Mr. Mitchell here, who is a member of that unit, would tell you that it required the team to work all day on Sunday and into the very late night. When I got a brief, it was at about 2:30 a.m., which indicates to me around the time that they were finished. Because once you get the data, of course, you have to do the assignment of schools. So their goal was to have the results released to the Grenadian public on Monday morning, and I'm so extremely proud of that department and the work that they did to facilitate that, because we probably might have been getting it today about midday if they did not sacrifice their Sunday. And mindful that that was also Father's Day. So we apologize to you, Mr. Mitchell. I want to also use the opportunity this morning to say that we had a total 147 students who did not receive placement in secondary school. To those students and of course their parents, I want to say to them, it is not the end of the world. There's always a second chance that is provided. And for those who might not be able to sit the same exam next year, of course, there will be other opportunities for those persons. So I want to urge teachers, parents, the general public to encourage them motivate them, give them a reason that they can go on. Of course, that number decreased from the year before, which was 198, but of course, Mr. Mitchell would provide us with more details. One of my concerns is always the conversations that we don't have about those who were not successful. And this morning, I want to make this commitment on behalf of the Ministry of Education that in the new school year, we are going to be placing far more emphasis in terms of support and monitoring within our schools to ensure that we support particularly students like those who probably need that extra support within the school system to ensure that every learner succeeds, but more so to ensure that no child is left behind. But another critical point that must be noted is the challenges that many of our students face when they go to our secondary schools. And again, we have to ensure that we increase measures, that we put additional measures in place to support some of those students. And we have to announce in the new school year some of the additional measures. Many of our students, of course, they do well, they pass, they move on. But the question is what happened to them after they move on to secondary school. And we know that there are challenges there, we know there are problems, and we have to do something more than we have been doing to address some of those issues and challenges. Of course, transfers, that's always an issue. I had to try to use the back door this morning to escape the number of people attempting to approach me as it relates to transfers. And I want to say this, I take absolutely no part as it relates to transfer of students. As a matter of fact, I looked at the numbers last night of students assigned, and I got very concerned about the expectations when it comes to transfers, because already the numbers are extremely high. So if you're talking about transfers, you're talking about additional persons, and I'm talking about transfers to schools that are normally the schools that most persons would be requesting a transfer to. I don't think persons should raise their expectations at all based on the numbers that I'm seeing. It appears that many persons were able to get their first choice, and of course we can only accommodate a certain number of persons, and there are guidelines, there are policies that dictates the persons who would be granted a transfer. And of course Mr. Mitchell can expand further on that because it has not changed to what it was last year. The other announcement I want to make this morning has to do with the reason why Mr. Alexander is here, which has to do with drug and alcohol policy as it relates to our schools. And I want to use the opportunity to also recognize Mr. Alexander, recognize the drug control unit within the ministry for the hard work. The work they've been doing, not just locally. Mr. Alexander has been leading a number of initiatives regionally and internationally, and I want to recognize them for their work there. But this morning I want to announce, while he will go into a number of other areas, giving a synopsis, I want to specifically refer to two changes that will happen as we seek to implement this policy from September 2019. The Ministry of Education, Human Resource Development and Religious Affairs expressly forbids the possession, use, sale, and distribution of intoxicating liquor, commonly referred to as alcoholic drinks, tobacco products, hemp, controlled drugs, electronic cigarettes, e-cigarettes, or any mood-altering substances, or any product, including juices, water, food, confectionaries, which may contain any of the four aforementioned substances or drugs. That has to do with not just schools, organizations, groups, or persons affiliated to schools at school functions. So as of September 2019, schools will not be allowed to sell alcoholic beverages at their school functions. In addition to that, I also want to refer to the consumption or the possession of those substances. It would also be forbidden for persons, including teachers, school support staff, including counselors, librarians, school security officers, visitors, parents or guardians, or any persons who leave school premises during a school function to be using or having in their possession those said items. We wish to appeal for the support of the general public. We wish to appeal for the support of our principals and teachers as we enforce this policy from September 2019. I've had some persons ask the question, so how will we make money? And I want to challenge Mr. Alexander. We can engage the small business unit, we can engage other stakeholders to facilitate some kind of coming together of principles to discuss best practices, to discuss alternative sources of raising revenue within our schools, and we seek to appeal to our principals and teachers, the Grenada Union of Teachers, for their full support in this regard. So at this time, Press Secretary, I want to have the exam unit go into some more details about the exam.
Thank you, Madam Minister, and pleasant good morning to members of the media. I too would want to add my congratulations to all of the nation's students who have been successful in this year's CPA exams, and likewise the hardworking teachers and parents and all of the stakeholders who ensured that our students would have performed at their very best. So we just want to say congratulations. As the Minister would have stated, it was a challenge to ensure that we get the results out on time for cabinet meeting yesterday. And it took us, I'd say, way into early hours of the morning. But it is something that we ensure that we do what we need to do to ensure that everyone is happy. You know, the results do not belong to the Ministry of Education. It does not belong to the examinations unit, but it's out there for the schools. It belongs to the students, and no way we will do anything to, you know, have that anxiety and all these kind of things happening. So we ensure that we worked really hard to ensure that it was out yesterday early. As has been stated, we had 1,799 students being successful in this year's exams, and they all had to be placed. Last year we placed 1,808. Just a difference of 9 thereabout, yes? So you see the numbers, it's not far apart, but significantly though, if you look at the percentage pass, it's even higher this year as compared to last year. Last year we had 2,026 students registered to write that exam, and of that, 1,808 were successful. This year, we had 1,931 students writing the exams, and we had 1,799 being successful. And there we see that where it was 89.2% pass last year, this year we had a 92.4% of our students obtaining that 50% or above mark to enter into our secondary school. So we can definitely say we've had some improvements. Likewise, an area that was of some concern last year, and we heard a lot about it, the whole aspect of the civics, the social studies that came on board. And last year we only had 54.66 students, but when we look at the stats this year, it's almost a 10-point increase. We had 64.20. So that's a massive increase. So that tells us that based on what would have happened last year, teachers, they would have gone back into the syllabus, gone back into the curriculum guide, look at the requirements, and they would have taught the curriculum guide. And this is one of the things I always promote. The exams, it is basically set on the curriculum guide that we use. All right? So we know it was new, and it is my expectations that the passing percentage is going to go even higher. Maths, likewise, mathematics, moving from 54.13, it moved to 55. Even though it's minimal, but it is a step in the right direction. It is definitely a step in the right direction. Science continues to be one of the better performing areas, even though there is a decline. It still continues to be one of the better performing areas, and we had 67.64% of our students gaining passes in that exam area. Now, the whole aspect of placement, as you are well aware, we as we always cater for the whole aspect of transfer, because we know not everyone will be fully satisfied where we place the students. When we do the placement, we don't know who you are. We don't know who the parents are. We don't know who the students are, and there are guidelines for it. But it is always a challenge, not in the outer parishes per se, Most of the challenges are here in St. George's. And if I were to give you some basic stats, Presentation Brothers College, they have a capacity of 70. When we looked at the top 300 students, 74 of them were in that. It's only one extra child that got that, and we gave them 75. So lots of persons are going to come for transfer for Presentation Brothers College, but we would want to ask the question, where are we going to put them? They do not have the space. And the policy tells us that out of the top 300, each of them, they're placed on merit. So anyone in the top 300, it doesn't matter which part of the island you're from, you get your first place. So that's how we operate. St. Joseph's Convent, they say to us 90. That's what they say to us, right? And they're right. But top places, 99. So already we have given them more than they can take. So people will come for transfers, but our hands are tied. There's absolutely nothing we can really do about it. There's a challenge. And just as a reminder, all right, it's a reminder, the first 300 students will be placed according to merits, all right, which is based on performance. So top 300. And if you were to look at the release that was sent out, you'll see we went up to 305, all right, to capture that top 300 because of the ties and everything that were happening there. We had a number of ties. So that's the first and the main criteria for you to get your first place. You may say, well, that child did not come in the top 300, however, they got the first place. And that's where the next criterion comes in. It says the remaining hundreds of students will be placed based on a scheme of zoning. So you'll be placed on a scheme of zoning. So for example, I might be living right in Tantin Terrace. My position probably could have been 1,000. Because of I live right there, chances are Anglican High School would be the school I'm going to get. All right? So that's what happens with the zoning. So it is not based on performance. It is not based on performance. Yes, transfers are given. There are a few students who will be considered for transfers. But to go into some of the same schools that you're asking, the chances might be very, very limited. However, we also look at certain circumstances that the placement forms would not say to us. So, for example, a student may, based on the location of the school, the environment, there might be certain elements within the environment that may trigger sickness. With medical report, these are things we have to look at. All right? So there are a number of things. We might be looking for access. Like, let's say we have someone who is immobile, who is in a wheelchair. There are some schools, like Anglican High School, for example, they can better accommodate such a child, because we may put a child in a particular school that does not have that, so we would have to transfer in such a case. And these are things we communicate with the principals, with the parents. So there are a number of things that are looked at. And let me hasten to add, when the transfer takes place, it's not one person also that is looking at the transfer. As a matter of fact, you may only have one person from the unit. You have a panel of about 6 or 7 persons throughout the Ministry of Education who sit and they look at the transfers. They would do the shortlisting based on merit, based on what is being asked for, and then the decisions are made. So in that light, likewise, we are asking parents, yes, we know that you've dropped in your transfer forms, but we're asking you to bear with us because there's a window for persons to drop in those forms, and thereafter they're looked at. And it is not a matter of first comes, first serve. It's based on the needs, and these are the things we basically look at. So from the examinations units, we try to accommodate everyone as best as we can. We try to make everyone happy, but there is only so much we can do. And once again, we just want to congratulate all of the students who have been successful in the exams, and the journey has just begun. All right, the journey has just begun, so let's continue working hard. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mitchell. Certainly some good insight there into the statistics as it relates to the exams and the comparisons to last year's performance. I would now like to turn the floor over to Mr. Dave Alexander of the Drug Control Unit, who I'm sure will expound on some of the pronouncements that the minister would have made earlier, and also give us any other details as it relates to your program area.
Thank you very much, and good morning to the distinguished members of the head table and to the media. Let me also extend my congratulations to all the students and the teachers for their hard work during the recent sitting of the exam, and to encourage the students to continue to apply themselves to be successful. I wish to inform the minister that the exams unit took a day and a half to get the results finalized, but the Drug Control Secretariat took almost 3.5 years revising the school's policy on drugs. So I'm not sure which one put in more work, but but that's a process. That's a process. In fact, when we formulated the first school's policy in 2002, that first process took about 4 years. And then in 2015, when we began to revise the process or the policy again, about 3 or so years. So here we are with the revised and updated schools policy on drugs for 2018 to 2023. The revised policy includes a number of new initiatives, new areas to be addressed. Back in 2002, we did not have the issue of electronic cigarettes or e-cigarettes. Well, with the revision, we had to take that into consideration. We have received reports of some students who were involved in such a practice. In fact, one parent even contacted us and indicated that he saw his child with this device and he did not know what it was about. So we had to look at that particular issue. Again, we had to re-emphasize the issue of the sale of alcohol at school functions. Now, I distinctly recall in 1998, the Grenada Union of Teachers made the call for a ban to be placed on the sale of alcohol at school functions. They recognized it back then. And it was thereafter when we began to formulate the policy that we took that into consideration. Well, this remains with the new schools policy. Some time ago, I shared this with some colleagues in the United States. And they asked, well, why do you need to put that in your policy? That should be an obvious situation. And I said, look, we have to understand culture and a couple other situations. And so we would be underscoring this in the policy this time around, that the sale of alcohol at school functions is prohibited. And we have defined and explained what is meant by school functions, particularly events involving children. Well, the issue of financing comes in. And I always tell schools and principals, I challenge them, bring me the stats. Show me the stats where you make more money selling 2 cases of beer at your school event. Show me the stats where you make more money. I'm still waiting. But the issue is this. We are concerned about the lives, safety, and well-being of our children. And so it is incumbent upon us to do whatever we can to protect them. There are ways and means of generating income that will be dealt with. But my primary concern of the Drug Control Secretariat, the concern of the Ministry of Education, the concern of the Minister for Education is the safety and well-being and the health of our children. We also looked at the question of suspension. In the previous policy and under the Education Act, provision is made for the suspension of children from school for drug-related offences. While the law remains, and we consulted with the Ministry of Legal Affairs on this, and they did indicate that we can use another method. And so, come September, we'll be focusing quite a lot on in-school suspension. That is, the child commits a drug-related offense. We would be doing the investigations, etc., but we want them to stay around school a bit. There may be an odd situation where we may have to ask them to remain home for a day or two. But as much as possible, we want to keep them at school, whereby we can provide the relevant assistance, counseling, guidance, etc. Because when we send them home, we have no access to them. And so we want to keep them around. Another key issue in the schools policy is a question of medications to students. A number of students do experience medical issues, whether it's diabetes, hypertension, etc. And some of them are required to take medication at certain times of the day when they will be at school. And so we are advising parents in this regard to inform the school. Let the principal know that, look, my child is supposed to take certain medications at 10 a.m. or at midday or at 9 a.m. So would you grant them permission, allow them time to do so? Where possible, the principal or the secretary can keep the medication in a safe place so the child can have access to it. Because we have heard some stories, not many, but a couple of instances where children were denied permission to take the medication at a certain time in the day. And so we want to work on that to help the children. And again, we had consulted with the Ministry of Health as regards this particular situation. There's another key area we just want to mention, that is the question of the students who special needs. We know that there are a number of children who have learning disorders, who have physical and other situations which they're not capable of making appropriate decisions, like some of us. And so very often we find there have been a couple of them who have been used to either carry drugs to school or to distribute for other persons. So what we're saying with this policy, and again, we did consult extensively with the special education unit and other teachers involved in this area, that we would be working specifically with these children and, of course, the teachers to help these children in such a situation, so that they can make the appropriate decisions. And so this policy, as I said, it's very forward-thinking. In fact, in 2016, I attended a meeting in Mexico, and I was asked whether they can use Grenada Schools policy as a discussion point to see how other countries can prepare such a policy. And one of the experts in this field commented that even though that policy was initially formulated way back in 2002, it was so advanced. And of course, we give credit to the kind of information and data we had to formulate this. Well, times change, we need to move on, and so there are some new initiatives in this one. But just to underscore as I end, again, we are paying close attention to the issue of the sale of alcohol at school functions. This is a no-no under the school's policy, and we are working with the teachers, with schools, etc. in this regard. They have been informed on this already, and will continue to inform them during the new school year and thereafter. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Alexander. Certainly very forward-thinking policy there, and we commend the ministry and in particular the Drug Control Unit for the revision of the school's policy on drugs that takes into account the changes that have occurred over the years as it relates to e-cigarettes, that kind of thing. Members of the media, the floor is now open to questions. In discussion this morning, the CPEA results and the new school's drug policy. Any questions?
Good morning, Sharon Noel, GIS. I have two questions as it pertains to the drug and alcohol policy. I know in previous years there were circulations to various secondary schools as it pertains to the selling of alcohol, especially during sports. And from covering the events, you would have seen most of the schools in St. George's adhering. But at the outer parishes, when you go, you saw the same set of stalls with all the adult products and so. What will be the penalties, and how do you plan to really institute this to ensure that it's right across the board?
Okay, thank you. First and foremost, the policy is not about penalties. It's not about punishing whether it's persons who sell alcohol at school functions or children who bring drugs to school. Right? There is a place for that, and that will be dealt with appropriately. Such a violation will require the input of the law enforcement authorities, in this case the Royal Grenada Police Force. They are well aware of the situation. They are familiar with the legislation that deals with the sale of alcohol, whether the persons had the appropriate license, etc. So they would address that. Of course, we work in tandem with them. We work hand in hand with them, as we say, hand in glove, okay? So we would be working with them in this regard, and they are well aware of this. They were very much involved in the revision of the policy. From the school standpoint, if a school violates a policy, there are measures within the Education Act, there are measures within the Public Service Commission to address issues where teachers violate rules, regulations, etc. So we don't want to look at it just if they violate this particular situation. But of course, as a whole, there are measures to address where teachers or principals would have violated laws, rules, regulations. There is a process for that type of situation.
I just want to add, Sherian, that we anticipate that all of our schools will cooperate. You're right, this is something announced previously. Some adhere and some chose not to. I've spoken to principals who said for years they have not sold alcohol in school activities, and the record shows that they've done far better than some schools financially, who have been schools that have been selling alcohol in their school functions. So I think what we expect is the full cooperation of all of our principals in this matter, and we don't anticipate that we would even have to be speaking penalties.
Okay, so, are we speaking public and private?
Well, I'll have Mr. Alexander expound a little bit on that, but the Education Act speaks to private and public schools. It speaks to other schools as well, but mainly we deal with private and public. But I just want to say this, and this is where I want Mr. Alexander to probably expound a little bit on the consultation and the whole background, the why. This is not just that we don't want schools to sell alcohol. The interest here is really the children. I had one case where a parent approached me, and the child was actually suspended for being in possession of alcohol. And you know what that, during a school function, and you know what that parent challenged me on? Why would the child be suspended when it was sold at the very activity? How the child obtained it is another question. But you see, I think it's a place we have to start to set a standard. Expound on the consultation and the whole background.
As I did indicate, the process took about 3.5 years to be completed. That is the revision. And we had extensive discussions with a number of agencies, ministries, departments, the churches, schools, principals, trade unions, other private organizations. And we also had to liaise with the Ministry of Legal Affairs, because you had to get that legal guidance on a number of issues. And we also had inputs from 2 universities in the United States, They normally send persons every year to work with us for a week or so. The University of Michigan and the University of Chicago and our own St. George's University were very much involved in this process. So there was quite an extensive discussion as to come up with the right balance, the right methods to formulate such a document. Remember, policy is not a document for today. A policy, as the Press Secretary mentioned, is something forward-thinking. You're looking into the future, and you set in the groundwork for what will happen in the future. So we had to take this into consideration. In addition, we know from our data, both locally and from the Pan American Health Organization, the consumption of alcohol is of grave concern in Latin America and the Caribbean. In Grenada, we consume, in terms of alcoholic beverages, 66% of alcoholic beverages that we consume are spirits, or as we may say in local parlance, the hard liquor. Okay, we consume about 35% or so beers and about 3% wine. So with that kind of consumption of hard liquor or spirits, in addition, the question of binge drinking among young persons, and binge drinking is where you would sit and have at least 4 drinks in one sitting. These are issues that we had to address, and so we had to look at the question of the health and well-being of our children, of our young people, and so we had to come up with such measures to enable them, to guide them in that kind of positive and right direction. Thank you.
I want to ask, the next question has to do with the 147 students that has been retained. Minister, you said they will not be left out. They'll be looked after in September 2019. Is it that post-mortem will be done and specialized? When I say specialized, I mean attention given to them to ensure that they come up to speed, that once given the next opportunity, they'll be able to get a placement into the secondary schools?
I think the first thing, and I'm sure Mr. Mitchell would agree with me there, is that there are some trends when you look at some of the schools over the years consistently having a number of students being retained. The higher numbers, there's a particular school that I flagged myself. You want to look at what is really happening there. And in some cases, we may even know what is happening. It means we have to move forward to address some of those things. In addition to that, we do know that all of our students are not academically inclined. We have to face that. And so the question is, if all of our students are not academically inclined, what are we doing additionally to what is being done? Because it doesn't mean we're not doing anything. What additionally are we doing year after year to further support these students, to ensure that they are not falling through the cracks? Now, only yesterday, Cabinet had a discussion over students who had the opportunity as it relates to skills training in our primary schools before. That has been significantly reduced. As you know, a lot of these schools had their home ec center, their woodwork center, and who knows? That may have played a significant role in supporting and motivating our children who are not academically inclined. We have to ask ourselves these questions. Yes, we do have clusters currently. So in St. Andrew, there is a center where the various schools would go to. But we have to look at how do we expand those programs to further support these students. There might be learning challenges that some of these students may have. We have to look at how do we upscale the special education unit to be able to diagnose easier probably the tools needed, supporting them to ensure that we can very early detect that this child has a learning disability or this child needs support. You know, maybe we wait till they get to the exam and realize, oops, you know, we need to do something more. But I really do believe a lot of those cases, way down, you would recognize that there might have been something signaling that they needed some support as they came up the ladder. So we want to ensure that we put those mechanisms in place for early detection of learning challenges and support, So even itinerant teachers in some schools, we have to look at how do we upscale that. There might be 2 students with particular challenges, but we might be able to send a teacher to that school to support them even more than they're being supported in the mainstream of things.
I have one final question. And I'm going back to the whole issue with the policies for drugs and alcohol policy in the schools. In a number of the communities I'd like to see where our schools are situated, you have different little shops where children come out of the school compound to purchase whatever, and you have all the blocks and so. Will there be a sensitization process to be had? And in terms of, I know normally you have police officers, you make frequent visits to ensure that when the children come out of the compound where they can't have it, the substance, that they would not be tempted to have it at the smaller shops and so, which they patronize within the area of the schools.
I think a lot has to do with enforcement. The law, and Mr. Alexander would confirm that the law is very clear on the sale of alcohol to minors. It is very clear about the distance. Sometimes you see a school having an activity and 5 steps away from the school, somebody set up a van and they said, this is wrong. The law is very clear as it relates to the distance from the school that the alcohol can be sold and, worse yet, the actual sale to a minor. So we have to do far more as it relates to enforcing. But not just enforcing, we have to do more about our conscience. We have to do a lot more about our conscience. Only recently it was reported what was sold to a student by an adult. I won't repeat the content here, but the point I'm making, an adult should not, by just their conscience, come to the point or reach that point where you would seek to destroy a child in the quest to make monies. Children have been sold, and interestingly, the policy speaks about confectionaries. And somebody may wonder, why do you want to put confectionaries there? So if you're speaking about sugar cake, I recall as a child, in my own community, someone was making sugar cake with marijuana in it, selling to children. So we know those things, they exist. We have to enforce the law and we have to appeal to people's conscience. These are children and we have to be very protective of all of our children. We should not deliberately be attempting to destroy them.
Good morning, everyone. Nisha Paul, the New Today newspaper. Minister, you kind of answered my question in parts, which was directed to Mr. Alexander, as it relates to some of the new areas in the policy. Can you expound a bit more on what are some of these areas?
Okay, a couple other areas, and this one came directly from the Royal Grenada Police Force. In fact, not just from the police force, but the commissioner. Not Commissioner Martin, the former Commissioner Winston James. When we met with the police to discuss this, the issue of cell phones came up. And we do know from our research and from other studies that some persons do use that medium to distribute information about drugs, that is sale, purchase, distribution of drugs, etc. And so the police, they were concerned that there are times when schools may confiscate these cell phones, all right? And the police, in an effort to maintain law and other protocols, they indicated that it is not allowed for the schools or the teachers or the principals to search these cell phones for information. Okay, so if for whatever reason a school confiscate a cell phone, okay, we know some schools, they say if you bring your phone to school, you leave it with the secretary, at the end of the day you'll get it. If for whatever reason a principal or a teacher gets a hold of these cell phones, the police is saying they should not go through the phone to search for information. That's a violation of privacy rules and etc., etc. So we want to remind people of that. The other question, there's another area that came up Well, it's not exactly new, but it's further emphasis the question of strip searches. We've had a couple of reports over the years where a couple of persons would have probably overstepped their bounds in their anxiety to address the situation, to look for the drugs which the child may have had. One or two persons may have proceeded to do strip searches, not in its entirety, okay, not removing all articles of clothing, but they did ask them to remove a couple of things, and again, that was a question of privacy. So again, we're saying in the policy that these strip searches, they're prohibited, they're not allowed. Okay. Yes, if you do a gentle pat, but again, it must not be intrusive. It must not be humiliating to create anxiety on the part of the children. So this is a couple of things that we had to include and beef up in the new policy. Again, the question of the medications, I did allude to it, but just to add a couple other things to that, we're also saying in the policy that if at 10 a.m. the child now has to take his prescribed medication, and for whatever reason they are unwilling to do so, when we discuss this with the Ministry of Health and the doctors, they're saying teachers should not force the child to take the medication. In other words, if I may use a bit of local parlance, or hold on the child and everybody there and screaming and open up, no. Okay, inform the parent, get a hold of the parent, inform them, look, your child was supposed to take the medication at this time of the day, but they did not. Could you please come in and to address the situation? Similarly, one other thing with medications, in this policy, we're advising teachers. We're advising teachers and school support staff, do not administer non-prescribed medication to children. That is, child comes and tell you, well, sir, you know, I have a toothache, and you dish out a couple of aspirin or Panadol. We had a case recently where one child had allergy, was allergic to Panadol. Now, can you imagine a situation, a teacher is not aware of that, and the child comes to you and say, well, miss, my head hurts, and you give it Panadol. Something happens. Who is responsible? I don't know. I don't know. What we're saying, we want to protect the teachers, we want to protect the children, we want to protect the parents. So we have to put some of these kind of new measures in place. And I think the question came up a while ago as to consultation and further dialogue. Well, as I did indicate to the minister some time ago, this discussion continues throughout the life of the policy. It's not just a press conference today and a media interview tomorrow, but as we continue to visit the schools, continuous promotion of this policy, and of course with the wider community, whichever gathering we're at, we do raise the policy to inform the public. Thank you.
We're speaking about implementation. Is it in September of this year, right? Well, there must be a sensitization drive. Can you speak to us about the plans leading up to the implementation? I know you touched on it a bit a little while ago, but...
Well, the sensitization has been going on for the past 8 months. I think since... well, a little over 8 months since October last year, we began the sensitization. We've had a number of media interviews. We've had a number of press conferences. We've had visits to the schools. We've submitted this via the internet widely. So that sensitization process has been ongoing. In fact, about 3 weeks ago, this document again was sent to all schools by the Chief Education Officer. So the sensitization process is in process and will continue to be in process throughout the next, 2018 to 23, God's willing. It will continue in various forms and methods to sensitize and inform the public.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Rachel Bain, WPG10. I have 3 questions, 2 of which belongs to Mr. Alexander and 1 for the minister. My first question, Mr. Alexander, is with regards to the drinking age, and can you give guidance to the laws that speaks about that?
I think I'm the only person in this room who was around in 1911 when the Liquor Dealers License Act was passed, okay, when it was enacted into law, all right? I don't like to get other people's age, right? I can give you my age, that's okay, all right? Now, in 1911, it's different to now. There are issues which the law talked about then that is not applicable now. For example, under the Liquor License Act, it was somehow assumed that any female who visited some of these shops where they sold alcohol was a prostitute. And so the law talks about sale of alcohol to prostitutes. And so that was one of the reasons why we know that a lot of females did not go to these so-called rum shops. Okay? But now it's a different situation. The law does not specifically address consumption as such. It is there, but it's interwoven in such a way that you have to kind of look for it. However, the law talks about sale of alcohol to minors. And in this context, a minor refers to persons under the age of 16. Okay? And it talked about the sale of alcohol to persons under 16 is an offense except it is in a sealed or corked vessel or container. Okay? Now, so my 4-year-old son, he's yet to be born, goes to the shop, purchase a beer, okay? It is sealed. Well, according to the law, that's not an offense, right? Because the law says once it is in a sealed or corked vessel or container, okay? However, that child goes to the shop to buy an eighth of rum. Well, you have to open and pour out and sell. Okay, that's an offense. However, we have to understand there are other legislation which can be used to address situations. So that person who sells is not necessarily off the hook, because there are other pieces of legislation elsewhere which can be used because you are endangering a minor, abuse, etc., etc. Okay, and I know this is something that has engaged the attention of relevant persons, and it is something that we have been discussing, we have discussed, and will continue to discuss to see how this can be addressed appropriately, because there is need for some updating of the Liquor License Act, which is, it has some use in its term, a lot, but there's some other areas which are a bit outdated, and we need to bring in sync. So this is something that we will be addressing, but the minister rightly said, we have to appeal to people's good conscience. And very often, if I may just add my own personal views, very often I listen to some of these talk shows and visit people and so on, and everybody wants a law for everything. The other day, one person called and she said they must have a law that you should not be using a weed eater before 6 o'clock in the morning. All right? Okay. We have to appeal to people's good conscience to do what is good and what is right. Thank you.
Okay, my second question is with regards to the strip searches. All right, would the police be called in to do those searches? Strip search. Yes. Would the police be called in to do those searches?
No, police don't do strip search. Okay, because strip search are not allowed. They are not allowed. Okay, so for example, let's say a child has a drug in his bag. Okay, what we do, we work with teachers and we train them how to search a bag. Okay, do not just push your hand in, but you allow the child to empty it, and you document. And also, one of the new things in this policy now, we are encouraging the principals and teachers also to take a photograph, because there are times when I distinctly recall we found something in a child's bag. The child was present, the teacher was present, and the child vehemently denied, "You did not find it in my bag." I mean, it was surprising to all of us. Okay, so there's a lot of documenting and photographic information that would be requested in this setting. But strip searches, no, we're not asking anybody to take off anything. That's not permitted. Okay, thank you.
Okay, my final question is to Minister Pear. Minister Pear, I know on May Day, Lydon Lewis asked to return to negotiating table. And about 2 weeks before that, you asked the union to return to the negotiating table as well. So tell us, where are we now in terms of the meetings? Because I've been told that you have had 2 meetings already. So tell us, where are we with that now?
Right, so just to clarify that would not be negotiations, as in government negotiating team. Of course, the union had made it clear quite some time ago that they're not returning to negotiation with government on the subjects. Now, the appeal that I made then was to do with a decision we took 1 year before that once per month, the union and the Minister of Education, together with a team from the Ministry of Education, will meet to discuss matters that relates to the union, teachers, Ministry of Education, education in general. We were able to have the union respond positively in that regard. So following the last teachers' conference, I received a call from the President General of the union saying that the executive took a decision that they will resume meeting with the minister on a monthly basis. I already expressed gratitude to the union for that because I think it's so important. We have been meeting. As a matter of fact, only yesterday we had another meeting. The meeting before yesterday, about a month before that, we agreed that the only item on the agenda for yesterday's meeting would be outstanding fringe benefits and other outstanding benefits due to teachers and principals. And so we had a discussion. The ministry provided an update prior to that meeting on all the outstanding articles and where it is that we are in terms of addressing those. I must say it was a very cordial meeting. Unfortunately, the President General could not make it to that meeting, but other executive members were there. Mr. Marvin Andel led that team as first vice president, and I believe we were able to review the document provided by the ministry, and I believe in the process of restoring trust, in the process of building relationship, and I think that's one of the things we agreed upon yesterday. If we have to achieve anything, if we have to move forward, we have to, one, be able to trust each other, and one, we have to be able to work together for a common good. So we have committed as a ministry to continue working on those items, continue to provide feedback, and we meet again the first week in July to provide further feedback to the union. Let me also say that the meeting, although that was not an item on the agenda, but we also discussed a number of other issues, including the need to rush forward with the introduction of more technologically designed approaches to teaching our children and to ensure that in the classroom our children are not left behind. We had an opportunity to update them on where the ministry is in that regard, and I believe we left that meeting extremely happy that together we have to work to achieve those goals that we have set.
So where are we in terms of the fringe benefits?
So it's a number of different articles, and I'll probably just give you an idea. One, just off my head, for example, speaks to providing every teacher, every principal with an appropriate desk and chair. So, of course, they should not be sitting on the same type of chair that the students are sitting on, of course, something more comfortable. What we said to the union is that where we sit, we are not in a position to say that we can achieve that by September or by July. It would require us to go down the ground, do an inventory of how many teachers currently are using inappropriate desks and chairs, and then to assess the cost of that, and then to determine, yes, we can accommodate this in the 2019 budget, or no, we are going to make some accommodation in the 2020 budget to start that process. In some cases, we may not be able to do every replacement at the same time, but I must say this, there's a commitment on the part of government to work with the union to address all of those items in question the best way that we can.
Good morning, Anisha Samuel, Grenadian Voice newspaper. Mr. Mitchell, you spoke about assignments being related to the number of students the schools can accommodate. I noticed that only 2 students were assigned to Beacon. So is it because that's the amount the school can accommodate, or are there other reasons?
Simply put, all the secondary schools that are private paid, once students have them as their choices, we give it to them, all right? Because it's something that the parents have to pay for. So in that case, it would have been a situation where the students would have decided to do that. Additionally, once it is a secondary school that is private paid again, and you have it as your first choice, most of the times we don't interfere with it, we give that to you, basically.
Do we have any further questions this morning? Okay, it seems that will be all. Members of the head table, any final closing comments from any of you?
I just want to close, Philo, by saying a special thank you to all of our principals, all of our teachers, and I want to also add there our parents who have been extremely supportive during the preparation and over the years because this is not a one-time, one-year exam. Sometimes we only think about a grade 6 teacher, but we also have to think of all the teachers who played a role along the way. And of course, parents. I know there are parents who have gone way out of their way, whether it's extra classes, whether it's support systems, to facilitate and to support their children. I want to just say thank you to everybody and to wish everyone all the best as we move forward. Just one announcement I want to add to that. The deadline for application for scholarships to St. George's University, that has been extended. As you would recall, the deadline was June 15th. And of course, to ensure a wider pool of applicants, government took a decision to extend that to June 28th. So we seek the support of the media to ensure that all of our persons out there, eligible persons, would be able to get that message, and those who are interested will be able to apply. And we're talking both at the first degree level and at the master's level. So just to announce again, from the 15th of June, that deadline has been extended to the 28th of June, right? So I want to encourage, especially, forgive me if I say this, in our more rural communities, encouraging our young people to apply, please.
Any other comments, gentlemen? Or that will be it. Mr. Alexander?
Thank you. Just one announcement. I do have copies of a summary of the policy for members of the media. Okay, so we can decide that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Alexander. Madam Minister, thank you so much. Mr. Mitchell of the exam unit, thank you again. I hope you get to do something this week to celebrate Father's Day. See that you would have worked so hard on the actual day. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of this week's post-cabinet press briefing. Certainly a wealth of information from the Ministry of Education this morning. At the topic, the 2019 CPEA results. And again, we congratulate the top student and all of the students who were successful in the exams. And you would have heard more about the school's drug and alcohol policy, the revised policy that goes into effect from September and will remain in effect until 2023. As Mr. Alexander would have explained, there is a continuous life to that process, so it's continuously reviewed, and any changes that need to be made to that policy will be made over time. Okay, so again, I say thank you for joining us this morning. I'll see you again next week.
NNP Utah, in association with Waggy presents a pre-Fisherman's Birthday Bingo on Saturday, 22nd June. 22nd June at the Victoria Park in Grenville. Starting time 7 p.m. It's $50,000 in cash and prizes to be won. We having a good time in the venue. $50,000 in cash and prizes. Tickets cost $40 for one. Pay $70 and we give you 2 tickets. Music by DJ Chemist. Make it a date. Saturday, 22nd June. Victoria Park, Grenville. $50,000. Free Fisherman Birthday Bingo. Don't you dare miss this.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new national party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.
Good morning, Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. Once again, it is time for Hard Talk. My name's Sheldon Scott.
I'm Devon Romain.
Yeah, I think I had them thing too loud. Yeah, I think a good day now, innit? Yeah, I think a good day now. Nice, beautiful. Yes, we say a special good morning to each and every one of you, wherever you are, locally, regionally, internationally, whether you're on the International Space Station or you are on a submarine outside between Grenada and Carriacou right now, nearly cutting our optic cables and them. Yeah, all the data cable passing. They pass with all your submarine away from we cable. When you're going and cut we cable and all kind of thing, keep all your submarine on the other side, you understand? We know it's a submarine there, innit?
Yeah.
Yeah, we know they're passing around and all kind of thing. You know, feel, looking for the heat signature, here come Jenny to cover all that. Anyway, let me watch before I get to my Hawk cruise missile there. Yes, indeed.
And then you have the Russians and the Americans scooping around Venezuela.
Yeah, the drones and them flying over.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, folks, it is now 7 minutes after the hour of 11 o'clock on the Spice Isle of Grenada. You've just heard the post-cabinet press briefing, and the minister who was up this morning, the Honorable Emlyn Pear. Good morning, Mrs. Pear. The Honorable Minister of Education, Human Resources, Tertiary Education, the Honorable Emlyn Pear. She was up to bat this morning, and she was specifically speaking about the CPEA results. Yeah, we gave a lot of that yesterday, Devon.
Lots of information.
Yeah, we gave a lot of that. I'm trying to find somebody online this morning.
Lots of celebrations too around the island with the different schools, especially right from the Vandam to the Monk Rose and the Samaritan. I mean, these schools they are so excited, you know, with the results. And there are a number of schools who got 100% passes, all right? And that is commendable.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, what I'll say is this, though. As we read out yesterday, because we did do an in-depth discussion on it yesterday, the grade points in relation to mathematics, we've seen an improvement in the area of mathematics. No, the Prime Minister would be happy with that. Yeah, so we've seen an improvement in the area of mathematics. Not so much in English language, but the sciences continue to be strong for Grenada. It's wonderful that we do have that. It means that we have proper thinking young people down there, especially at the primary school level. If they're doing well in the sciences, it bodes very well for our future. Yeah? Because they are the innovators, they are the inventors, they are the thinkers. And we just have to give them the tools to be able to achieve what we know they can achieve.
That's it. Mm-hmm. The tools is necessary.
Yeah.
You know,
well, CPEA results, and again, congratulations to the Vendome RC School. We're congratulating all the schools, but the Vendome RC School. Got a lot of people under the impression that the government schools, you must take your child out and send your child to a private. I'm not of that belief. My child right now, government school. And he has one of the best teachers on the face of the island. I ain't calling she name here because some all is so spiteful. Or they might want to go and spite the young lady. But there's a young lady that would message you 11, 12 in the night and tell you what you need to do for your child. That's the kind of teacher that she is. A wonderful teacher. I had to get Jackie jacket and Joan she frock. Yeah, that's what you had to do. Right. Folks, it was, well, not necessarily open line, but remember yesterday I had been speaking. I know Devon wasn't in yesterday, but Devon always listens when he's not here. I was speaking yesterday about those children that did not succeed at the exam, that 147 of them that did not succeed in the examination. And when we say didn't succeed, it's simply that they were unable to secure a placement. Yeah, we've had one that only scored 7 out of 500.
I didn't think he completed.
No, I think that person, yeah, you could see Devon was listening because he said exactly what I said yesterday. He was able to tell you that. I'll tell all you, no my partner, you know. So yeah, I don't think that child probably completed the exam or whatever it was. And I don't think parents, don't be rough on them. I know while everybody is jumping up and happy today and talking about graduation and what gift they're going to give and all that kind of thing, that many of you're upset. And I'm saying, while it is within your right to be upset, you alone know the pain that you went through and the suffering that you go through. Think of the child. Yeah? And what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a short break because I want to connect with somebody today. And I want to use that as an example. And we have to speak about the rest of the postcard. We're going to speak about that. But as I'm getting the person now, let me try to just reach them on the phone. And then we'll come back because we had to speak about the drug policy. And so at the post-cabinet that they spoke about there, I've been reading the document, I have it in the car.
NNP Utah, in association with WeiVybz, presents a pre-fisherman's birthday bingo. On Saturday, 22nd June, at the Victoria Park in Grenville. Starting time 7 p.m. It's $50,000 in cash and prizes to be won. $50,000 in cash and prizes. Tickets cost $40 for one. Pay $70 and we give you 2 tickets. Music by DJ Chemist. Make it a date. Saturday, 22nd June. Victoria Park, Grenville. $50,000. Free Fisherman Birthday Bingo. Don't you dare miss this.
Education is the key to success. I want you to understand that the most important part of education is academics. Yes, man. Whoa. Calling upon parents and guardians, sending your children to school. Cause a good education in this life would be their greatest tool. Respect to the elders and the teachers and those in authority. Remember when you sit down to learn, children, now listen attentively. Because the world that you're going out into would be your greatest teacher. There is no time now to be reluctant. Everything child is computer. Always aim for the sky, work hard. Think about your future. Because I want all you to be qualified with an intellectual power. Child education is what you want. If you must succeed, and you never know you could be an esteemed lawyer like Peter Levine. Qualification is what you need. If you must excel, and you could be a great mathematician, just like Dr. Kit Mitchell. Inspiration is what you need. Children must prepare, and you could be a woman rising in parliament like Miss Emily Pierre. Education is what you want, but it comes with hard work. But you could be an economist, I tell you, just like Nazim Buck. When I was a young boy, I never liked going to school.
All right, listeners, we have a young lady online with us this morning. And let me say a very special good morning to you, Miss Nicole Cambridge. Hello.
Hi, good morning.
Morning, Nicole. How are you doing this morning?
I'm fine. Well, it's afternoon by me now.
Oh, yes, I forgot. You're 5 hours in front because you're over in the UK right now.
Yes.
Well, the CPEA, what we used to know as common entrance, you understand? Yeah. The results are out right now. We have a lot of people happy today, but my concern is the 147 who didn't make it. Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, my concern is the 147 young people who did not make it. Tell us about your experience, because you were one of those young people once, a few years ago. You were one of those young people that when everybody else jumping up, today you would have been crying, innit?
Yes.
But tell us your story.
Okay, so back in 1998, I would believe, I had attempted, well, at that time it was common entrance.
Oh boy, Nicole, I'm having a problem. I don't know, you're using a wireless something? Because the signal seems to be giving a slight problem. I don't know if I should hang up and try calling back. Hello? Let me hang up.
It's a direct call, I'm not sure.
Let me hang up and try calling back. I think the connection itself is bad. So let me hang up. I'll call you right back.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, folks, I really want you to hear what she has to say today. I think it's important that you hear what Miss Cambridge has to say.
What I did, my friends, emulate. Some call me a troublemaker and say that I will not graduate. When I heard these things, I got so frightened. Decided to clean up my act. I grabbed my school book and study. Every exam, you know, I passed. When was graduation, I graduated top of the class. And the teachers all gave me such wonderful and complimentary remarks. Education is what you want. Go forth with no fear. I want you to become a master poet just like William Shakespeare. Qualification, I want you to have be a dictionary. So you could be preaching philosophy like...
All right, I think I've got it a bit better now, Miss Cambridge. Okay, well, we had to work with it as it is. You go right ahead. Tell people your story.
Okay, so I think back in 1998, I have sat the common entrance exams, and, well, the majority of my friends passed, and I didn't pass. I felt really bad. I cried. It was a really, emotional and tough time for me and my mom as well. She cried a bit, but thank God I didn't get licked. So, the most painful part of it was actually, getting to know my friends or graduating and moving on to secondary school, while I have to go back to the same class and, be with other students that was at the lower grade. That was, really, really painful for me.
But on your second attempt, you were able to pass the exam.
Yes, on my second attempt, I was able to pass. However, it wasn't just something really easy. What my mom did is that she had signed me up for extra lessons. So I used to go to lessons at the primary school and also lessons on Saturday. So I had extra, assistance, and she had cut off a bit of playtime, less TV time, and, I always had to be in my books to get the results that, in order to pass. So she helped a lot in that way, and I was able to make it on my second attempt.
Right. Which secondary school did you go to?
I went to St. David's Catholic Secondary School.
Wow, you go good school, girl.
Yes. And, the funny thing about it is, in primary school, I used to place around in the teens in exams. Sometimes I'm hitting the 20-something. Wow. And after I passed common entrance and I entered into St. David's School, I've been placing in the top 3, sometimes entire school year. I've been placing first right through, so it's I've been really shocked, to see how my performance was at primary school. And then moving on to secondary school, I had a, marked improvement, and not only in position, but in average as well. So, I know how the youngsters are feeling now, those that didn't pass. I know how their parents are feeling now, but this is a time. The good thing about now is that they can actually see which areas they were weak in and which areas they need help in, so that they can use those scores as a guide now to prepare them for next year examination.
Right, that's so wonderful. And I'm trying all sorts of things here because I really want people to hear what you're saying. Having a little interference, but I think that they're getting the general gist of what you're saying. Now, in other words, your mother, she reduced on your playtime. So no playtime, books. Also, you did classes at the primary school, so you were doing additional classes and Saturday classes.
Yes.
So she started working with a formula in that, okay, this is not the end and just send you to go and work in the land and pick up cocoa and nutmeg or something and just forget about education. She decided that you have to pass the next year.
Yes.
Was it an immediate something and she just said, okay, that's happened, we passed that, let's move on?
She was a bit upset, right? And she did cry a bit, complaining that I was playing too much, But she did went out and seek the help, because I think the class I used to go to was on Lucas Street. A lady named called Miss Franklin at the time.
I didn't hear the name. Sorry. What Franklin?
I'm not sure of her first name, but we used to call her Miss Franklin
Miss
on
Franklin.
Lucas Street.
Okay.
Yeah, so we used to go to class there on Saturdays, and I used to do classes at the school as well.
Okay. Now, that was then. Let's roll over to now. Girl, what are you doing in England? What are you doing in the United Kingdom and in specific England? What are you doing there?
Okay, so right now I'm over here pursuing my master's in finance.
Nice. So master's
and
degree.
I'm almost completed. I'm almost done. I just have like about 3 more months to go.
3 months to go.
Yeah.
Girl, let me tell you, not only the HARDTALK family behind you, right now, you had the whole of Grenada behind you. And this is your second master's degree?
Yes, my second one.
So while other people even have a first degree, you want 2 master's degree?
Yes.
Let me ask you now, the children who passed common entrance the year when you didn't pass, how much of them have master's degree now?
I've been looking back recently, and I must say that I'm proud of them. We have some that is a doctor, some in the bank as managers, some have traveled, so they actually did well. And I was like, wow, because, I was so far back from them, and I was like, I'm on par with them right now.
That's the point. And that's the thing, that you might have started the race late, but you're finishing it though.
Yes.
So after you get the second master's degree, that's it? Or are we looking to hear Dr. Cambridge?
To be honest, I'm actually looking to go right up to the PhD level.
Well, we want to hear that. That's what we want to hear from a student who in 1998, when results come out, was crying, to a young lady that is being, how to call it, Dr. Cambridge.
20 years later.
Dr. Cambridge. And you've had other challenges.
Yes.
How have you been able to cope studying children? How many children do you have?
I have 3 daughters.
Wow. And you were able to study for your first degree and everything while you're pregnant and all this kind of thing?
Yes, I had all 3 while at university in Grenada.
Huh. Wow. So that means that somebody who's sitting there right now, they might have the CXCs and so nothing is stopping them from going and get a degree?
No, it shouldn't at all.
Wow.
I must say, attending university or, higher education and, having a child, it's not easy, but it's doable. And once you have the right support system behind you, it's really doable.
That's so absolutely fabulous. And I hope that a lot of persons who are out there are listening, because there are people out there who, I'm worried. And I'm worried about those 147 that society tends to look at them as less than and not understand that this is just a stage to which they have to pass, and that next year they may be graduating as a valedictorian at the school that they couldn't come out of last year.
Yeah, all they have to do now, it's gonna sting a bit. They're gonna feel hurt a bit, but they should pay particular attention to the results. They get sort of like an evaluation on their performance. They should pay attention to their weak areas, and even if their weak areas is in all the components, they should be able to, get assistance, whether it's extra lessons or their parents can help them or family members can help them, and go through practice papers as early as possible and just keep practicing. It shouldn't be a sprint, but it should be like a marathon.
Exactly. All right. So any final words to the parents and then to the children? Final words to the parents first.
Okay. So parents, yes, it's going to feel bad, but it's just a temporary feeling. It's already happened. So what you should do is chin up and pick up the pieces and come up with a master plan so that they can be successful in the next examination.
And to the students now?
And to the students, yes, some of your friends will pass and they will leave you, but you should see this as, okay, I don't want this to happen to me again, so I am actually going to put much more work or effort into what I do so that I can pass for next sitting. And to the parents, do not punish your child, do not beat them, do not abuse them verbally, give them, it's holiday time, give them their little play time as well. Don't just take it away from them, but, just seek the additional help and come up with that master plan so that they can be successful next year.
All right, my dear, and we'd like to thank you so very much. Have some fish and chips on me, leave the bill, I'll pay it when I come up. So, or you can go out to Nando's on me. Yeah, you can go out to Nando's on me this evening. Just tell them Sheldon sent you, and they'll send the bill. They know how to find me. They'll send the bill. So, before you go, which university are you at right now?
I'm at University of Portsmouth.
Of Portsmouth?
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. All right, my dear, we'd like to thank you so very much for taking some time out of your regimed schedule, because we talk about that. We go talk about the Keep Fit Pass after. Because I know that one, you're a lot inspiration to a lot of people. Probably I need you around to help me with that one. When you're back me and you go start to train. Because I know when it comes to the Keep Fit, you're heavy on that too.
That's easy. I wouldn't mind, because something you don't know as well, that I am a college dropout as well.
You drop out from?
From TAMCC.
My goodness. What, girl?
Yeah.
Yeah, wanna. As soon as you finish in that 3 months and you're back in Grenada, we're doing a full hour with you. I'm bringing you in the studio and put you sit down. We're doing a full hour with you, Nicole.
Okay.
All right, my dear. You enjoy the rest of your day today.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you so very much. Bye-bye.
You're welcome.
Folks, all you hear that?
Solid, man.
Don't go looking at that 100 and... All you find out only tinging on the 147 that didn't pass. Yes, because I feel it for them.
Yeah, because they are left behind, eh?
Yeah.
And they have that feelings that, as if some of them have that feeling that, look, everybody's looking down at them, but no, we can't. We have to prop them up. We have to give them the strength and the energy to continue, And you heard it from Nicole. I mean, she was, she was.
So here are the challenges that Nicole faced. First one, at the age of, well, not at the age of, but in 1998, she fails the exam. She fails common entrance.
So she would have been around 10, 11. Perhaps.
11, right. So she fails common entrance. Then she had to go back in her class now with all the younger ones. So everybody younger than you, you older than them.
I know that
feeling. You probably used to be in the primary school there and you're watching them and think, boy, move there, little boy.
Yeah.
Move there, little guy.
And they come and meet you.
You come and meet you in class with them now. So you had to step down.
So that's a feeling there.
And no playtime, less TV time, more book time.
Yeah.
And on a Saturday,
half your Saturday
where you could go and watch your Saturday morning cartoons as we used to do back in those days. You watch your Saturday morning cartoons and you go and play. Now it's book. So
at least 3 hours.
Yeah. So Saturdays now, you're in book by Miss Franklin, and then you have your classes in school during the week. Yeah. But her mother, while she was upset, and you could understand upset because people find out, boy, I put money into this thing. You know how much money I spend and this sort of thing. And then the neighbors watching me funny now, they may be laughing because look, my child failed, and they're laughing and this and that. No. Take the time. Forget the neighbors. This is your child. No neighbor ain't coming and laugh at you and think that's their business. Their face is their own. And this is your child.
And you should be proud to be spending what amount of money on your child. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it's
man.
your child.
It's your child. Look at Nicole. Nicole has not one, 2 master's degrees.
Yeah. And she
has one and she's working on the next. So she already has a master's degree. And she's working on a second master's degree right now with the intention of going to a doctorate. And she did not pass common entrance. Plus, she had 3 children while going to university studying for her first degree and her second master's.
And she just told us she was a dropout of TAM-CC.
And she dropped out at TAM-CC.
So, I mean...
And she ain't come from rich people.
No, strength.
I should have found out that part too. Let her say it for herself. But it did not come from rich family. She didn't come from a rich family. And here it is today. She's at the University of Portsmouth studying for her second master's degree with the intention of doing her PhD. And would you doubt her? Would you doubt that she's going to get that doctorate?
No, as a matter of fact...
if I'm a betting man, I would put my money on her.
Yeah. I would put my money on her. To reach that far and with that sort of encouragement, man, it's...
Yeah. And I mean, it's such an influencing story. It's such a story that should be influencing and used for a lot of our young people here. And even if after the Ministry of Education get those 147 children together in one room and do a video conference with her, let us speak to them. With their parents, not just the children, get those 147 children together in one room together with their parents and let Nicole speak to them. And let her mother speak to them. Yeah, I think that should be an idea.
That would be an inspiration.
Let's get this call.
Good morning and welcome.
Hello.
Hi,
yes,
good morning.
Yeah, I hear you all a little bit low, but good morning to both of you and the listening public.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yesterday, while I was listening to you, I heard you mention, after you was congratulating all who passed and the total amount that passed and failed, I heard you mention to the people that fail, and it touched me a bit when I heard you mention that, Sheldon. Because there are people too, and it's hard to fail, as being a young... I heard you mention it, and it really touched me as well, because I failed common entrance 3 times, as well.
Wow.
And it wasn't the nicest feeling,
No.
Yeah,
when you watch all your friends left you who go to high school. It's really hot as a young kid, And then people, as you say yesterday, will say, you're done.
Mm-hmm. But that's not the truth. The children are not. There's no such thing as a dunce person, as far as I'm concerned. I might make misstatements, but there's no such thing as a dunce person.
My friend, 3 times I did common entrance. I wanted to, but I was concentrating more on sport at the time. So that's the reason,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because from standard 4 to standard 3 in primary, they're taking me to go play with the senior team in standard 7 against Palmer and Aris in Guelph. So it could be reasons you couldn't really concentrate at the time,
Yeah.
Maybe you and another thing that could affect kids in that situation, maybe nutrition as well.
Yeah, that has a part to play.
Crucial point right there.
You can't study when you're hungry.
Yeah.
My friend, there is people I see, parents who could have given their children 3 meals a day while you're eating 1, 2.
Mm-hmm.
You eat in the morning and then you eat till in the night before you sleep. So how your brain could function?
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of the schools, they have the breakfast program in the morning. So some of the children try to arrive at a specific time so that they can get their breakfast in the morning before the school, and then they get their lunch. They pay $1 and you get your lunch. And even if they don't have the $1, I don't see schools where a teacher the school going to look at you and say, well, you do have the dollar, they're not giving you lunch. They wouldn't look at a child's staff. If you have it, you think, yeah.
Nutrition have a lot to play sometimes in that.
Yes, it
failing
does.
and passing an exam because it's important. Yeah? I've been through it, and I could tell you, man, I failed 3 times. I don't feel to say that. But at the end, I end up in college.
Of course.
Well, look at you. You're not a stupid person, you know.
I went to A level at the end. I passed school living. So I woke up and I passed the school living.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to Form 3 in high school.
Yeah, they would have sent you straight to Form 3.
Yeah, that's where I went. I didn't go Form 1 and 2.
Man.
And I was with people like Alva Brown and those guys with permanent secretary in GSS.
Wow. And that's the stories that we need, those young people, that 147 young people. We need them to hear those stories. We need them to hear it.
I've been through it as a young man. It's not nice when you feel, man, you can't eat, you don't want to go outside, you don't want to go nowhere.
Because you're feeling embarrassed. You feel embarrassed. And you don't want people see and everybody, oh, look the stupidity there.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
And I heard a big lady who was a big teacher saw me and tell me I dance as a little boy when I fail, you know. That's what make me buck up, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
And prove her wrong.
That is the spirit. You prove them wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a teacher who was a teacher in the community telling me I dance as a little boy when you fail. It's really hard, but I'm glad you mentioned that yesterday. It touched me when you said that, man.
All right, my brother.
All right. Take care.
Yes. It's important. It's important that we understand that if we continue to tell our children they dance, believe me, they're gonna start to believe that they dance.
That they dance, and they'll do dance things.
Yeah. If we start telling them that you can't do it, you just need to apply yourself more.
Exactly.
Yeah, you just need to apply yourself more, or you do like Nicole's mother did, and set in place a regime for her. Okay, too much TV. We're cutting your TV time. Right. Too much play. No play. Right now, we have something to achieve. Because the other part there is, you heard what she said, at the primary school level, when results coming out, she was in the teens. So she was one of the people, number 14, 15, going all in the 20s and so in the class. That was her place in the class. But when she went to secondary school, because of that approach that her mother took, because of that approach and that creating that mindset for her, she was able to place in the first 3, and for 1 year she placed first right through, but top 3 for the rest of her time in school. And then after that, to go on to TAMCC and then drop out at TAMCC, but still was able afterwards to gain, because somebody might have said now, okay, she failed common entrance, that's the end of it for her. There are many people walking around right now who could have had their doctorates or even their master's degree and so on, that because of how people approach them and how society labeled them, ended up thinking that they dance. They ended up thinking that they dance, and we have to change that perception.
We have to. You see, and the road that Nicole took, right, from primary school into secondary school, she never looked back. She never looked back, and that is what we want the students who were not fortunate in getting the amount of points to pass the CPA. Focus together with your parents. Focus on what is important.
Devon,
put something in place, and you get there.
Devon, I often say to young mothers, young ladies with 2, 3, 4 children, I don't care how much you have, go to university.
The opportunity is there.
Any young people, I speak to young guys, young ladies all the time, and they can tell you, I always tell them, hey, why don't try to go back to school? Get 2 subjects. You don't have CXC, let me see if you could get some CXC, and so do this, do that, do the other. You don't have maths and English, let's see if you could get maths and English, and from there we can see how we work.
You move on.
Always try to encourage them to move forward. That's the only way. They have to.
Hey, good morning, Sheldon. Good morning, Devon.
Good morning,
sir.
Good morning.
How's everything?
Quite fine.
Yeah, Brother Sheldon Devon, I want to say congratulations to all the students that be successful in the CPEA exam, the teachers, the parents, the principal, all the schools. I want to say congratulations to each and everyone. And Brother Sheldon, as you speak about the children that they not be successful, I want to advise them, next time work harder, focus more on your schoolwork, because, you have to, all these things, all of success comes about because of your concentration, your meditation, your focus. Right? and put your best foot forward to achieve what you want in life. Right? Yes, there will be failure. But when failure comes, we have to get up, rise above it, and work harder to achieve what you want in life. Never say never. And you see, the greatest hindrance is ourselves. If we have doubt and unbelief in ourselves, we fail. What I have to encourage all the students that did not be successful this time, work harder. Work harder, focus, cut out certain things you have cut out, and focus. Say, Mommy, I want to do better. And parents, encourage your children. Do say things about children. Don't forget the big things that we say to our children. Negative things could affect them in being successful in whatever they want to achieve in life. So I say, parents, don't go hard on them, the children fail. Help them, encourage them to work harder. So, Brother Devon, Sheldon, you all have a wonderful day. God bless you.
Thank you so very much.
All right, my friend.
Yeah, folks, we really have to encourage them. Yeah. And even those that pass, don't think that we're only talking about that 147 that were not placed into the secondary school system here. Even that 1,700 and somebody there, or 800 and somebody, those that passed, apply the same thing to them, you know. Yeah, if you could send them for extra classes, send them for extra classes. And they're going into the secondary school system now where the workload is much heavier. So the time on the internet watching YouTube videos have to cut. It have to cut. Those of you with children who are writing CPEA next year, know that as of now, in fact, it should have happened already, but the amount of time that they spend on YouTube, that had to cut now.
Yeah.
The amount of time that they spend playing video games on the internet, that have to cut now. Yeah? All the time that they spend, it has to cut now. This is serious business. They play time. Although these days, back in 1998 and in our time, playtime was outside. Yeah, we go in and look for mango. I don't know, people that say they're hunting mango. I never see a mango run from anybody yet. But anyway, we go in and look for mango. You go in and do all this kind of thing. You go in and fish for crayfish. You go in and do all this kind of thing. Yes, you still have to have childhood days. Those things must be there. They must be part of it. But there must be specific time for when. There must be specific time for study. You can't just totally ignore study. There must be specific time for study. And this is not just for the 147. In fact, for the 147, it is more urgent. And every single parent there must take up that responsibility. Don't leave the responsibility up to the teachers in the school. You as the parents must pick up that responsibility now. As how Nicole's mother picked up that responsibility.
Exactly.
And say, you are going to do this. Not I want you to do. Not what them teachers and them doing. For them teachers. Not them teachers and them what the teachers and them doing. What are you as a parent going to do to ensure that next year this time, your child is going into the secondary school system? Devon, in the post-cabinet press briefing, they spoke about the issue of transfers.
Yeah.
They spoke about the issue of and it's difficult to have transfers now.
Very difficult.
Because if you all look at the list, the top performers, if you all look at the list, yeah, close to 300, well, over 300 of those children.
What, 400 and something of them?
Yeah. The average, most of them is 430-something points that they score and over. Mm-hmm. And that is out of 500.
Within, 450.
So they got a first choice.
450 to 490, you have hundreds of the children and between that
so
time.
Those children got the first choice, and it's only, we heard the PS speak, it's only so many children that can go into particular schools. GBSS only has a certain carrying capacity. They could only take a certain number.
Yeah.
Where my son will be going next year.
Yeah. And some of them may sort of stretch a bit and take an extra 5 or 6.
Yeah. And Anglican High School could only take so much. St. Joseph's Convent could only take so much. These schools have a carrying capacity. They could only take a certain number of students, right? And if the vast majority of students, let's say they can only take 200, and you had 250 students that had that as the first choice. And out of those 250 students, nearly all of them get over 450, 460
Then
going there. You have problem.
Serious problems.
And then with all of those, remember, those that had it as the first choice and get it, then your child now wants to go to that particular school. You're telling them remove a child who do well and get the first point, the first choice. Yeah. It's difficult. So let's just try to be a bit fair in relation to this.
Understanding.
Yeah.
It's not that the ministry don't want to, but it is the amount of space, the capacity the school carries, and you have to take all these things into consideration. But you know what? And I've always seen, yes, you may prefer to send your child to a particular school, or your child may prefer to go, but that should not be, right? That energy or that instinct for them to go forward and do good. No matter what school they are placed in, the onus is on them. And you, the parents, to ensure that they continue to do good, right, for that 5 years in secondary school.
Yeah, it doesn't end. It's a continuous something because...
Nicole has shown that.
Yeah, it's not ending thing because, look, she even went to TAMCC and then she dropped out.
And she dropped out. Right?
Drop out from TAMCC.
And look at where she's at now. Second master's and going for the PhD. Not doctorate, but the PhD to the top.
Yeah, she's going.
This is the kind of encouragement we want to share to our young people, and especially to those who have tried for the first time and failed. Don't give up. It's not the end. That should give you more energy, more vigor to continue on and do much better. Right?
Folks, 440-7377
and 347-329-3101.
Yeah, we have limited time remaining. Yes. But they did mention the issue of transfers. But even more importantly, the Drug Control Secretariat was there.
Exactly. Yeah.
The Drug Control Secretariat a couple of weeks ago sent out some indicators on the issue of drugs and alcohol usage in Grenada and prevalence and so on. But it was mentioned that the ministry has the policy, the updated policy now. Not new. There was one before. So now they have an updated schools policy in relation to alcohol and drugs and so on. Some of the key points to note. 1, no school activity will be allowed to have alcohol in it. Because you see some schools say they're having fair and they have beers galore on sale and then they had the ring game with bottle of rum.
Yeah.
A school, they're having a fair. And then they have a bottle of rum where they just take the ring and they throw around it and that kind of thing.
So what happened to the 7-year-old who threw the ring and get that bottle of rum? You going to give it to him?
And I hope they expand it to include the non-alcoholic wine and them kind of thing too. Yeah. Because it's also giving the indication of drinking.
It's a teaser.
Yeah, it's a teaser. So we're not saying that they can't have things like the pear Jackson so with no alcohol. But there are something like the non-alcoholic wine. Some people might say, well, okay, let me use that instead since they say no alcohol. No, leave that out too.
Yes. Even the whole question, I don't really want the whole question when they mentioned the Shandy Carib. Imagine I and my son come and ask me, Daddy, I drink 2 Shandy Carib. I mean, it's non-alcoholic, and so, but it's a signal, in my view, to to how the children are thinking. Right?
Yeah, we have to be careful with
that.
Very,
very careful as to what we let them do, right? And explain to them, some of the things that they could and can do. So that policy.
It's
and so important.
We heard from Mr. Dave Alexander. Dave, I have known Dave.
From ever.
Really, yes.
You have known him forever.
Really,
imagine me.
Yeah, man. No, you will definitely know him longer than me. But I've known him since my involvement with the Ministry of Youth back in 2005. And he has done a lot of work over the years.
He has been doing an excellent job.
Yes, man, Dave. And the updating, because the policy that existed before didn't include things. And he mentioned all of this, like the e-cigarettes. Now, for many of you that may not know, there's now this thing, it does look like a pen. It looks like a pen, but it's like the vaping, or they call it vaping and so on. So you can use that and you're smoking that instead of cigarettes. It's
addictive.
An electronic device. And research has shown that it's even more dangerous to use those than to use actual cigarettes. But there was nothing covering that. So a child could have go to school with one and use it in and between. And there was actually nothing you could do about it. Yeah, you could take it and say, well, you don't want that or so. But there was nothing in the policy that spoke towards that. So now they've updated the policy in relation to those things. They've updated the policy in relation at schools, in relation to the seizing of mobile phones and that kind of thing. Yeah? Yes, my dear, I have a copy of it too, the school's drug policy. They have updated the policy as well in relation to things as in relation to cell phones.
Yeah.
That yes, you could seize the cell phone from the child, but you can't go into the cell phone to look at what the child been talking about, who they've been talking about, go through the pictures and videos. That is actually an offense.
It's illegal. Pure and
yeah,
simple.
you can't go into people's cell phones. That is an offense.
You need consent. You need, and if it's something that it's serious enough that you think, you call in the police and let them do their work, But it's so important because he laid out trying to guide parents, especially teachers, as to what they can do, right? What they can and cannot do in school when it comes to that. Right, and so he even mentioned the whole question of if you basically suspect a child is carrying something in their bag that they should not have. Yes, you may ask them to empty out their bag, right, on a table in the presence of perhaps the principal or other teachers, and even went as far as to say, like, look, we need to photograph these items, and so right as proof.
Also,
so it's
they had that. Also, in the policy, they've spoken about the strip search.
Yes.
Can't just strip search people, children, and that kind of thing. All of that. Yeah. We have a caller online.
Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Romain.
Good morning to you, sir.
And good morning to Mr. Scott.
Good morning, sir.
Gentlemen, when Nicole finished speaking, I could have just, say, well, there is no need for me to call. But because the time permits me, there is a story I want to tell here. And when Nicole talk about having the right support system behind her, Mr. Scott, that rings a bell louder than when I was going to school. And the reason why I'm saying that, and that is part of our problem. Part of our problem is that there are many of our children who are academically inclined, but because sometimes the right support system does not exist at home, they could fall through the cracks. Let's hope that is not the case going forward. But listen to this. The reason why I say that is because, I have a grandniece, which is my nephew's daughter, who went to SJC in Grenville. When she did CXC, the first time, she did not get one. You understand? She did not get one. So she did a second year, and she got 11. With the accolades, the ones and whatever. She's now in university in the United States. So I'm saying that's why having the right support system, especially family, sometimes it could mean everything. And that's the reason why I'm saying, man, family is so important that we cannot give it up just so. Gentlemen, I hope I make some sense.
All the time.
Have a pleasant day.
You too, my friend.
Bro. All the time. It just makes sense today. You're always making sense. In fact, I thought you was a mint because you're always making sense.
Good morning to all of you who have joined us on the live.
So someone is asking a question. Nicole has a bachelor's degree in economics and finance. She has a master's degree, her MBA specializing in international business, and she's now doing a second master's degree specifically in finance.
Wow.
Yeah? From failing government entrance in 1998 to that right now. So she already has the bachelor's degree in economics and finance. She already has a master's degree, MBA specializing in international business, and now she's doing her master's degree in finance.
And check it, Sheldon. Look at the time span, from 98 to now, around 21 years.
Yeah.
And she has been able to achieve that feat after that
failing government entrance, dropping out at TAMCC and having 3 children. Yeah.
That gave her the strength and the courage to continue on together with her mother And you must compliment her mother for putting things in place after she failed that first time.
Watch, if we have a mothers union of the country giving awards,
yes,
find our mother.
Find that mother.
Right now, she also has certificates in financial modeling and investment foundations.
Wow.
The young lady, brilliant. I know she, well, mommy may feed her bulb soup.
which one of our parish that she's from? St. David's?
St. David people was.
Yeah, St. David's.
I St. David people.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
Proud.
St. David's Catholic Secondary School, take a bow.
Take a bow.
Yeah, St. David's Catholic Secondary School, man. Yeah. Hey, let me say a special good morning to the staff and principal out there at the St. David's Catholic Secondary School. No, that is not my ex-school. I can't give, if I give it already name at my school, all still would know what I'm talking about. So, but let's give a special shout out. Yeah, see the principal working hard up there, boy. Yeah, he's working very, very hard. A nice gentleman, a decent gentleman, and he's doing an excellent job. Yeah, that's why the St. David's Catholic Secondary School continues to be one of the best.
One of the best
in the region. We ain't just saying on the island, in the region.
In the region.
Yeah.
You know? And hey,
I look at it, we don't have no backward secondary school here in Grenada.
No.
You know? All them secondary schools hold their own in whatever area it is. They just hold their own. You know? Yeah.
Despite the attention they get at any time. For example, let's look at the primary schools. I mean, before yesterday, you'd have hardly hear anything about Vendome, RC School, or even Samaritan, you know, or in the spotlight. But as of yesterday, you see the attention they have been getting because of the academic achievement, and that is good. But I go further as to say, look, we need to pay attention, not just, teachers and parents, but society. Pay more attention to what is going on in our primary schools, right? And so, who out there in the communities could go and assist in whatever is going on, help out in these primary schools so we can produce much more, right? Brilliance within these primary schools going towards
we
secondary.
nearly out of time.
I realize that.
We nearly out of time,
Yes,
cheese and bread.
2
Yeah, folks,
minutes.
we're nearly out of time. But we had a very interesting post-cabinet press briefing this morning. I hope that all of you took note of several of the things that were said there this morning, and even afterwards, especially by what was said by Nicole, because your child today can do the same or better than her in the future if you do the right things now. If you pull out your belt and you just start to beat the child mercilessly and call them dunce, and you refuse to spend another cent to send them for the further their education, then they will never be. I know, listen, Nicole has her Facebook page and so on, every now and again. She just closed the Facebook page, you know. Once your exams coming up, just now I know, within, she has to complete in 3 months.
Discipline. Yeah.
Just now you're going to realize that you're not seeing her on Facebook. She's just off Facebook. She's not responding to WhatsApp messages, anything. That she's just so focused on what she has to do. And you see that thing, focus? Yeah, it doesn't only work for John Wick, it does work for everybody. You have to be very focused on what it is you want to achieve.
And one of the things that she said, and it touched me, it is not a sprint, right? It is not, in other words, it's not 100 meters you're running. So even if you fail now, think about it as a 1,500 or 5,000 meters.
Or a marathon.
Right? You may get a bad start, but at the end of it all, you would end up at the first place because of the time you have, right? To continue to do better. So don't feel bad, right? Parents, continue to be the model, the role model for your children, right? Show them that, look, failure is just part of life.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to move on. Continue to do better. You learn from the mistakes and so on. Continue to encourage them.
Yes, indeed. Folks, that's all the time we have for Hard Talk today. We hope that if our words and the words of our callers, you heard one of the callers, he failed three times. We talk about Nicole, but that call,
3 times.
Believe me,
and he went
3
on to
times.
do A-levels.
He said he was focusing on the sports. He went on and do A-levels, and he went to college
He went
as
to
well.
college, yeah.
So this, you have to understand these things. Understand that because you failed now, or because you were not successful as you wanted to be now, does not mean the end for you.
No.
Yeah, it does not mean the end for you. Folks, that's all the time we have today for Hard Talk. We'd like to thank all of the callers, all of you listeners. Those of you online, hang on, don't leave yet, because we have the national report coming up for you, and we may also have a 1 or 2 state of affairs where you can find out what has been and continues to go on in the state of Grenada. Yeah, so you can't say that you didn't know when we make sure that you know. Also, remember the UTAM bingo, it's coming up on Saturday, and me and Devon trying to go and win everything.
Yeah, well, me trying to
we want to run with it.
And that is in my backyard too.
Yeah, we want to run with it, so that's coming up on Saturday.
$70 for 2 tickets.
Nah, man, you gotta be crazy, man. We want to win this thing. All right? That's all the time we have for Hard Talk. Then everything you say and do it safe and secure. I want to be speaking to and with you.
Not about you.
Love each and every one of you.
Peace out.
Party, LNP.
Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives has initiated an outreach program with the business community to foster a closer relationship, with the hope that it will enable them to have a better understanding of their needs and concerns. The Ministry of Trade, Industry, Cooperatives and Carriacou Affairs has begun an initiative that seeks to address the concerns of the business community, the aim being to develop a more harmonious working relationship. The ministry, which is headed by Honorable Oliver Joseph, recently embarked on an outreach program with this objective in mind. The first such outreach program began with a tour of businesses at the industrial park of the frequency-based Grenada Investment Development Corporation. Minister Joseph said it is the start of a process to get a feel for the needs and concerns of the business community.
Businesses located in this area, to hear their concerns, to tell them what government plans are. So it's an interaction that the ministry plans starting here in this industrial park, and we'll be going right throughout the entire island, meeting with businesses.
Is this the first of its kind?
Yes, this is the first one. So we wanted to start here where you have this cluster of business because it's easy to get to them, and they are looking forward to the visit. Actually, they would like to meet with the minister and his team to discuss, any issues they have and to hear from them as well. So we start here today, and as I said, the program will take us throughout the island to meet with all businesses. Yes, well, based on this suggestion, we will develop a plan that will address some of the issues that they've raised. So really, when we hear the concerns and what they would want to see, the ministry will then sit down and put a plan together, send it back to them and call them to a consultation so that before the next budget in November. So we started early, because we want to have a plan before the next budget. That's the target date, to visit all the businesses before November, so that budget time we can report and what are the, or recommend this from them, what kind of support measures they need that could go into the budget.
There are 45 tenants in the Frequency Industrial Park. Chief Executive Officer of the GIDC, Ronald Theodore, is commending government for the initiative, which he says will help stimulate discussion that will aid in future decisions.
The industrial parks continue to be a significant asset to GIDC. Located in this park, so we have the Frequency Industrial Park, the Simon Industrial Park, and St. Patrick's. I mentioned we have 45 tenants. This park is 19 acres of land, right? And in terms of the buildings, the largest building we have is about 33,000 square feet of space. And in terms of the businesses, we have a wide range of businesses in the park, from manufacturing to the call center, BPO type operations, to storage, persons doing storage and so. So yes, the park continues to be on our major revenue basis, and we continue to maintain. For 2019, we want to continue to maintain the park to standard, because it does contribute significantly to GIDC. Okay, well, it's good to collaborate. Working together works, right? GIDC is not in this alone. All the businesses that are in here, we want to make sure that they grow from strength to strength. So we want to make sure that these businesses become more export ready. And most of the assistance are provided by trade and so forth. It all go well to those businesses in terms of making them become more export ready. And so we do see the outreach like this today as an important one, and we want to see more of this happening.
The businesses visited on the first leg of the outreach program included Spice Island Coffee, Longdon Windows, Arawak Island, St. Lou Metal, and Nabila. General Manager of Nabila, Larry Carter, says the company, which began at the Seaman Industrial Park, has been based at the Frequency Industrial Park for the past 15 years, during which time the GIDC and the government gave tremendous support to its growth and development.
I would like to say thanks to the Minister, Minister Joseph, for representing the government and for passing through the park, because I think this area is one of the areas that is key to the manufacturing industry. As part of a manufacturing company, I would like to say to him, it's important for us to look at the manufacturing industry because it's a little weak at the moment, and export it should be a viable something, but at this point we cannot export. It's difficult to compete with places like Trinidad where we purchase our raw material, and so it's quite challenging for us to compete with Trinidad and those places. But we would like to see some form of protection for our business, because the retailers are able to compete with us as a manufacturer. So in that regard, we would like to see some kind of a protection. In other words, the quantities of items coming in, maybe there should be a cap on it. So that in that regard, this is our concern.
Minister Joseph used the opportunity to remind him that government is a signatory to the treaty among CARICOM states and as such cannot place restrictions.
We have free trade agreement. CARICOM is total free trade. We cannot have any tariff rate quota or any quantitative restriction in CARICOM. And therefore, that is because we signed onto a treaty to allow that among CARICOM member states. Extra-regionally, the only how we could put any restriction on any product, it has to be for SPS reasons, sanitary and phytosanitary. It cannot be because of cost or price. Under the trade rules, you can't do that. So I would say we want to see export grow, if it's difficult to get, if there is any technical barriers to your trade in the next CARICOM member state, that we could deal with. If they put in on technical barriers, we can address that. In the absence of that, it is a free trade with CARICOM. But if there is any other support that you think government could give to you to enable you to compete more in the local market, to get better market share, we're prepared to look at that, at competing locally. If anything else, we could advance to you.
Another business visited was St. Lou Metal, where General Manager Andy Hostin says the improved economic climate in Grenada over the years has worked well for his business and others.
Manufacture windows and doors for both quality, aluminum quality and UPVC quality. Basically, the UPVC is more for like the salted areas in Grenada. The aluminum is basically for more the inland windows to be used and stuff. So we created like from the most affordable to the most expensive windows, basically, which is quality. The response is really good because what happened, like people who want the more higher class windows in perspective of UPVC wasn't available before, but now it's available, and so instead of having to import the UPVC windows, they could get it right in Grenada, which would make it much easier for them and is actually more affordable too.
The relationship with your businesses and the GIDC?
Well, GIDC been very, very, very supportive and very helpful in many, many ways, especially in assistance in many fields. If I go in it is a lot, but GIDC been very supportive.
Based on the suggestions raised by the business owners, Minister Joseph says an assessment will be done by his team. A plan will then be developed to address their concerns, and it will be shared with the business community for review before a general consultation is held. I am Sherian Noel, and that's the state of affairs.
It's coming, the new family of EC polymer notes.
What is different about these notes?
The feel.
Polymer notes are made from a thin plastic film which makes the notes feel smoother than the paper notes.
The orientation.
The notes have a portrait orientation. You will read the notes from top to bottom instead of left to right as you do with the paper notes.
Unique tactile feature.
The front of each note has raised bumps at the top left-hand corner. These bumps form shapes that are familiar to you.
Holographic foil strip.
This feature is on the $20, $50, and $100. When you tilt the notes, the images and colors in this section will change.
New image on the $50.
The back of the $50 bears the image of former governor of the ECCB, the late Honorable Sir K. Dwight Venner.
New signature.
All the notes bear the signature of the current governor, Timothy N.J. Antoine.
EC Polymer Notes. Cleaner, safer, stronger.
Spice Mass Corporation to pay out $345,000 in subvention. Details to this story and more in the National Report. Welcome back. With the details to the news for Friday, June 14th, I am Sherry-Ann Noel. The Spice Mass Corporation will distribute $345,000 in subvention among the various stakeholders of Carnival who have registered with the SMC to participate in the 2019 festival. This was revealed by the SMC CEO Kelvin Jacob during a brief handover ceremony at the SMC office at the GCNA building, Kirani James Boulevard on Friday.
Calypso, Mass, Queen contestants, Tilpan, and our parish committees. This evening, however, we will be paying subventions to two groups of these stakeholders, and we will be paying the parish committees this evening and also the mass bands who have registered for competition thus far. So not all mass bands have registered as yet, so this evening, the payout this evening will be for mass bands that have registered so far, and that's traditional and fancy mass bands. So they will receive their checks this evening. And the purpose of subvention is to help these entities prepare for the carnival season. So to help them with their costumes, to help them with their craft, to help the tents in their setting up and their management, their getting their songs and etc. together. So it's a help that SMC is giving through the government of Grenada.
Jacob says the total budgeted amount, mass bands will receive $50,000 and the parish committees $25,000. The SMC CEO also used the opportunity to address the issue of the increase in registration fees for the participating stakeholders in 2019, saying it is basically warranted at this time.
We realize that over the years, the registration fees have been very low compared to the prices that SMC pays. SMC has a lot of expenses, as you will know. Year after year, we hear about the debt of SMC, and these registration fees, it doesn't go back into building, fixing roads. It doesn't go back into the pocket of SMC staff, etc. It goes right back into spending on the artists' administrative costs, etc.
Public and private sector stakeholders have concluded a 3-day workshop on international standards on combating money laundering and the financing of terrorism as Grenada prepares for another round of mutual evaluation. The Caribbean Financial Action Task Force, CFATF, mutual evaluation of Grenada will be conducted in June 2020. Ms. Joanne Daniel, Deputy Executive Director of the Caribbean Financial Action Task Force Secretariat, says the training was designed to assist Grenada authorities and stakeholders in their strategies for anti-money laundering and countering of terrorism financing.
The mutual evaluation assessment on site will take place in June of 2020. At that assessment and following that assessment, a report will be done which will be reviewed and adopted subsequently by the global network. So this is a report that says this is the strength of Grenada's anti-money laundering, counter-financing of terrorism and counter-financing of proliferation framework. Should the assessment not be one in a favorable outcome for Grenada, it has dire effects for the Grenadian economy and for the country as a whole. So at the end of the day, the Secretariat really invested the time here to ensure that all stakeholders are aware of the critical importance of a coordinated, cooperative approach in preparation for this assessment, and that at the end of the day, Grenada comes out with a positive and favorable assessment of its AML CFT framework.
The FATF recommendations are the internationally endorsed global standards against money laundering and terrorist financing, which increases transparency and enable countries to successfully take action against any illicit use of their financial systems. Colleen Delfish, Senior Compliance Officer at the Grenada Cooperative Bank Limited, says the training has further enlightened them on the expectations relating to combating money laundering and terrorist financing.
My role now is to go back to my organization, review the 40 recommendations, ensure that our policies and procedures are in alignment with the 40 recommendations. I'm not saying that it is not, but just coming out of this workshop, conducting a review of our policies just to ensure that we are in alignment with what is expected internationally, and also to ensure that staff understands, what are the expectations. So if it's a situation whereby we would need to do further training, that will be done. And, so that we remain compliant with what is expected.
The Honorable Emmeline Pay has been appointed Acting Prime Minister in the absence of Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell. Minister Pay will act in the capacity of Prime
Vendom RC tops 2019 CPEA exams. Details to this story and more in the National Report. With the details to the news for Monday, June 17th, I am Rikisha St. Louis. Following an unexpected delay, there was much excitement across the Tri-Island Monday as students and educators anxiously awaited the release of the CPEA results. There was great jubilation among several schools who made it into the top 3 positions, some for the first time. One of these schools, Vendom RC, is in celebratory mood after one of its own topped the 2019 CPA exams. Kamaya Richards scored 490 points to take the top position. It was just 1 point more than that scored by Samuel Roberts of Montrose SDA, Hope Diali of Samaritan Presbyterian, and Joseph De Sousa of Westmoreland Junior School, who all scored 489 points to tie for second place. Eden Otway of Alpha Junior placed 5th with 488 points, while Dwight Gibbs from St. Andrew's Methodist, Micah Pinnock of St. George's Anglican, and Leanne Williamson of Westmoreland Junior placed 6th with 487. The 9th position was taken by Nicole Penny of Alpha Junior with 486 points, while position number 10 was taken by Aisha Peters of St. George's Anglican and Khalil Rahman of Westmoreland Junior with 483 points. Annette Moore, Public Relations Officer in the Ministry of Education, caught up with the excited students and filed this report.
Kamaya Richards of Vendom RC scored a total of 490 points out of a possible 500 points to place first in the island in this year's CPEA. She felt that her best performance was in math and science. In the new school term, she will attend the St. Joseph's Convent St. George.
I heard the teachers making a lot of noise, so I went to see what it was, and my teacher came and told me I came first in the island. I felt very excited and proud. I did a lot of studying in my books and a lot of practice.
Kamaya had some advice for next year's CPA students.
I would like to tell them to put a lot of effort in their work and do lots of practice.
Second place was shared by 3 students from both public and private primary schools who each scored a total of 489 points. They are Samuel Roberts of the Montrose SDA School, Hope Diali of the Samaritan Presbyterian School, and Joseph De Souza of the Westmoreland Junior School.
Miss Frederick, our teacher, came in the class and announced that I had placed second in the island, and I was very excited, yes. Yeah. Yeah, the joy just came over me and I had to jump and scream. It was very good to to know the results. First of all, I must thank God. Yes, God really helped me through these times, and I prayed a lot and hard work. Yes, I've been studying for a long time. I am very interested in medicine, and I would like to become a dermatologist in the future. I love working with the skin, and I think it will be a great career for me. I would like to thank all the teachers who encouraged me and helped me and supported me through these times, and they have been a great help towards me getting this position I was in the island.
Samuel Roberts will be moving on to the Grenada SDA Comprehensive Secondary School, while his peer at the Samaritan Presbyterian, who was similarly thrilled at the news, will go on to the MacDonald College.
I was in my class and the principal called me outside and he said, you came second in the island. I was overjoyed. I studied every day and I had confidence in myself. I would like to become a veterinarian because I love animals and I love helping them. I would like to thank my mommy and I would like to thank my grandma, my teachers, my principal, my friends for helping me, Mr. Hutchinson, and yeah.
Hope also had words of wisdom for other students.
I'd like to tell them that you just need to study very hard and have confidence in yourself that you can do it.
Westmoreland's Joseph D'Souza spoke with us about his achievement.
I'm very happy. I studied by reviewing my work and trying to understand it and practicing. I want to thank God and my family members and teachers for supporting me and teaching me. I'm going to recommend to students to study their work and try to understand it and go through their books to practice what they don't know.
Joseph, who will go on to Westmoreland Secondary, is currently interested in a career in the sciences.
Probably an engineer because I like to build things and be creative.
For the National Report, I'm Annette Moore.
The results were released on Saturday night. Education Minister Honorable Emmeline Peer commended the staff at the ministry who came out to work on Sunday to ensure that they were processed to go to Cabinet to be issued on time. 1,799 students were assigned to secondary schools. This number comprises 902 males and 897 females. 147 students were retained at the primary school, 41 females and 109 males. The highest score attained in the assessment was 490 out of a maximum possible score of 500 as compared to 481 in 2018. 92.4% of the CPEA candidates writing the assessment scored 50% or above in the assessment. This reflects a 3.2 increase against 2018's 89.2%, achieving the same mark. In the external and internal component, students performed the best in science. Several principals, teachers, and parents of the top performing schools expressed their satisfaction with this year's results.
When the phone rang and somebody said we came first in the island, I couldn't even move. So I was so excited.
I can say we performed exceedingly well. We always do, but this is our best so far.
I just look at my past years, I go through the data, and I see where the students was making errors, and we work a lot more on those areas.
I am happy with the results. For me, I always look at if I send, let's say, 27 students, I want all 27 to be successful. I generally would like all of them to have averages of 75% and above. And I'm happy to say I'm very happy with the 100% passes. I would also like to wish all the other schools, Venda Morrissey and the other schools that are top performers, congrats on a job well done.
I am really happy that the staff really worked. We worked as a team to ensure we have good results at this school. So I am really happy and I look forward to greater results in the future.
I feel very excited about the results this year. We worked really hard. We started our CPA components from grade 5. We were engaged in after-school lessons. We gave lessons in the vacation. And from April up until the exam, we were engaged in a lot of practice papers, so I'm quite satisfied with the performance of the students.
It's great news. We have always done well over the years. We've been having students in the top 100 and the top 200. It's been a while we haven't had someone so high up.
Well, I was happy when I heard her result, but I expected her to do well. She's a very hard-working young lady, and she's self-determined. She does her work sometimes even before I have to help or ask.
We are really elated, and we are very happy. We are just rejoicing. Everyone. We had a nice little match just a while ago, celebrating, going down to the streets and coming back up, celebrating this news.
This is the National Report. More news after the break.
Every summer, the Spice Island of Grenada is transformed into the Caribbean's biggest party, Spice Man.
Coming down to Grenada.
Come experience the warmth of our people, trending theme fats, the revelry, the pageantry, and why we are the Jab Nation. The Kids Our Future shines on August 3rd in the Children's Carnival Frolic and the Junior Calypso Show. 7 beauties take center stage as the Queen of Carnival is crowned on majestic Thursday, August 8th. The prestigious soca and groovy monarchs are crowned on Carnival Friday night, August 9th. Enjoy the pulsating rhythms of the still pan at the Junior and the Senior Panorama on Carnival Saturday, August 10th, and Real Steel, August 17th. The March Gras crowns the Calypso Monarch on Carnival Sunday, August 11th. 2 days of frolicking in the Caribbean sun kicks off on Monday morning, August 12th, with the biggest duvet in the world, followed by pageant and Monday night mass. The creativity and splendor of our mass parades on the road Carnival Tuesday, August 13th. Join us in the Jab Nation of Grenada, August 8th to 12th for Spice Mass 2019. Many events, one carnival.
Welcome back. Chairman of the Council for Foreign and Community Relations, Grenada's Foreign Affairs Minister, Honorable Peter David, has called for mutual support between CARICOM and Cuba to ensure a more equitable, sustainable and just global environment. Minister David was addressing delegates at the opening of the 6th meeting of Ministers of Foreign Affairs of CARICOM and Cuba in Guyana. CARICOM prizes highly the links it has built with Cuba over the years through technical cooperation at bilateral and regional levels, trade and economic ties, the mutuality of interest and concerns in regional, hemispheric and international fora, and the fraternal spirit that comes to the fore in times of disaster. Minister David emphasized the importance of creating stronger bonds in the face of regional turbulence that threatens growth and development. According to Minister David, the institutionalization of the CARICOM-Cuba relationship following the first summit in 2002 has contributed significantly to the development of several CARICOM member states.
The history of our cooperation has been marked by Cuba's generosity towards our region, which has resulted in the boosting of our human capital in many areas and technical assistance to enhance our social, economic, cultural, and sporting sectors. This relationship is a fine example of South-South cooperation. It is my expectation that the same vitality that pervades the above-mentioned areas will be transferred to our trading arrangements where there is scope for much improvement. I can assure you, Minister, that the Caribbean community will continue its tradition of diplomatic support to Cuba in international fora as we work together to ensure a more equitable and just global environment.
CARICOM Secretary General Ambassador Erwin LaRocque says improving trade relations between both parties remain a critical issue if both are to maintain growth and development.
In November 2017, I had the pleasure to sign on behalf of CARICOM the second protocol to the Trade and Economic Cooperation Agreement with Cuba, which expanded preferential access to both parties. It is our hope that discussions at this meeting will provide an opportunity to advance measures needed to give effect to the protocol. There are other matters related to improving trade relations which call for discussion at the level of the Joint Commission, which last met in 2017. I believe that the Joint Commission should meet as soon as possible to build on the momentum from this meeting.
That story just ended the National Report for today, Monday, June 17th. Let's recap the top story. Vendome RC tops 2019 CPEA exams. On behalf of everyone here at the Government Information Service who has made this newscast possible, I am Rakisha St. Louis saying thank you for joining us. Until next time.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new national party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.
It's coming, the new family of EC polymer notes.
What is different about these notes?
The feel.
Polymer notes are made from a thin plastic film which makes the notes feel smoother than the paper notes.
The orientation.
The notes have a portrait orientation. You will read the notes from top to bottom instead of left to right as you do with the paper notes.
Unique tactile feature.
The front of each note has raised bumps at the top left-hand corner. These bumps form shapes that are familiar to you.
Holographic foil strip.
This feature is on the $20, $50, and $100. When you tilt the notes, the images and colors in this section will change.
New image on the $50.
The back of the $50 bears the image of former governor of the ECCB, the late Honorable Sir K. Dwight Venner.
New signature.
All the notes bear the signature of the current governor, Timothy N.J. Antoine.
EC polymer notes. Cleaner, safer, stronger.
Unemployment within the St. Andrew Parish stands to be reduced further when Renegade Rum Distillery becomes operational in the coming months. Work is progressing according to plan, and recently Prime Minister Dr. the Right Honourable Keith Mitchell was given a detailed tour of the plant in conference. Rakisha St. Louis was there and filed the special State of Affairs feature.
Nestled in the rural community of Conference St. Andrew, standing tall between the trees, is a development that has already begun to transform Grenada's economy, creating employment for young and old, boosting small business activities, and developing the road network within the community. Renegade Rum Distilleries not only promises to brew and bottle premium rum, but also to create a rum that will attract international markets and revenue to our shores. The sod was turned in August 2018 and construction commenced in a matter of weeks. 10 months later, and already there is evidence of how this big dream will benefit the small community.
This has enormous impact on the country, and it's a way of, to another part of it, the diversification of our economy. That's a major component of this. It's also an impact on rural development, because that project, if it was in St. George's, would not have had the impact that it is having on the country's face as having it here in St. Andrew. So there's so much win for this country.
We can see the progress and how it is going, and it's just an anticipation towards the end of what is happening. Moreover, what is good for us in the constituency is the level of development that is taking place, and it's bringing about the benefits for our people. We have direct benefits, we have the indirect benefits. If on your way here you would have seen the expansion of the road structure, the drain construction, and so you see the amount of businesses, the small businesses that were established as a result of this project, the number of persons who got employed in the construction phase, as well as who are employed now with Carriacou. I'm just happy for this level of investment in St. Andrew Northeast.
Prime Minister Mitchell, the parliamentary representative, and their team recently toured the facility to see firsthand its progress and the impact on the community. Unemployment has reduced significantly in the constituency and neighbouring areas, as more than 100 individuals are employed in the construction phase, with hopes of more gaining employment on completion of the factory.
From our end, from Renegade end, we have a young team of staff already, permanent employers already. We employ people to be process operators. The process operators will be the person actually going through the plant, testing different parameters as related to wastewater treatment, the cleaning processes, the yeast treatment, the fermentation and so. We also have the boiler operators on staff already working with the company that we bought the boiler from and they're installing it. We have the mill operators here already also. and we have the maintenance team here, and we have the distillers. I mean, one thing, the distillers will be working here basically to do the distill the products and controlling the quality and efficiency of the product that we think we intend to produce. We could boast and say that we have an all-female distillation team. It's the first of its kind.
By the time the project complete, we have to do about 600 acres of cane. We're not even halfway there yet. We assume that we will have maybe 200-300 workers by the time and that's just field workers and stuff like that, by the time the project is completed.
The impact it's having on unemployment in the country, the number of people that are working already, and impressive among the young Grenadians, skilled people, chemists, young people who probably will not, having gone to university and trained in a specific area, would not have had the opportunity to be able to use their skills. And you can see on their faces the happiness and the brightness of their faces. It's a very exciting thing for the country.
Renegade Rum has increased the production of sugarcane on island through its cultivation company Carriacou. Lands have been leased and cultivated in other rural parts of the country, namely Plains, River and Twine, Westerhall, Bacolet, La Colombe, Dunfermline and Hope.
Projects like these normally start and fall apart, and people, have certain level of uncertainty when it comes to, putting the eggs in the basket. However, with the commencement of the factory and we ourselves doing large quantity of cane, a lot of people are now coming, forward and saying, hang on, we have some lands and we don't know if you would, like it, or, if you'd want it to lease, and, in a lot of cases people are offering us lands to buy. We're not buying land, we're just leasing the lands. And people who have lands and want to, let us cultivate the lands for you, we pay $1,000 per acre per annum. And initially we want the land just for 5 years. After 5 years, we should recover the costs that we pay to cultivate those lands. And then you can have back your lands well cultivated.
The large-scale cultivation of sugarcane, according to Prime Minister Mitchell, is a boost to the agricultural sector and economic earnings. He reminisced on the historical structure of areas that were mainly agricultural lands. Dr. Mitchell is pleased that the distillery has found a way to combine agriculture and tourism.
This is a real formula that demonstrated marriage and the importance of it for the country's development, and of course impact on our export earnings, impact on economic activity in the country as a whole, and of course all the things that are coming, the ancillary activities with this Pearls area, this section of the country, historically used to be agriculture estate. The estate is gone, and the estate gone, many of it have been cut up into small pieces. A lot of opportunity for job potential were lost, and with that, the poverty increases in that in the area. I know the parliamentary representative must be extremely happy. The pressure on her would be lifted considerably so, because a lot of people will be doing different things.
Although the factory is not complete, work has already started on installing the equipment so that capacity building training can start before the actual production begins.
We walk through the 4 buildings. The utility building, let's say 40-50% complete, but the still house, another 40-50% complete. The brew house, which is to the extreme right, let's say 20%, but this is about 80-90% complete. But however, what I must say is that what is left to be done will be much faster than, okay, just to put up the cladding, put up the roofs, and so on. So you will see that that second phase, what has to be completed, will be much faster and shorter and much faster than actually what was done already.
As the distillery continues to expand in structure, so too is the target of obtaining over 600 acres of land for cultivation. Harvesting has already begun, but not for production, since the factory is not yet in operation. However, hopes are high that within the next 3 months, another batch of cane will be harvested, this time for brewing. For State of Affairs, I am Rakisha St. Louis.